way by staying in the dorms or staying in the academic buildings, and the latter was the decision this morning. And so we send out communications by email. We have an emergency alert system, iMessaging, and everything else to get the word to them as quickly as we can. But with 11,000 people driving into campus, it's extremely difficult, if not almost impossible, to get the word out instantaneously.
Don't you think this has rendered the lockdown system altogether ineffective?
No, I think the lockdown system, both last fall and this time, worked very well. The students were extremely cooperative. There were very few people out about on campus.
But didn't you lock it down after the first shooting, and then 30 kids are dead now?
No. We locked down the building where we thought it occurred and when we thought the incident was contained. We had no reason to suspect any other incident was going to occur.
Can you describe the security on the building, the academic building in the dorm?
Let me get to input. Go ahead.
What sort of changes did you make in the security after the Moore incident on the first day of school?
Well, one thing we did was to provide all of our people with their own secure communication channel. We found that people were picking up communications by scanner, putting out all kinds of rumors which are creating a sense of fear and uncertainty on the campus. So that was one of the things. But we also, as soon as we learned of what was going on in Norris Hall, with all of the police collaborating, we began a sweep from one side of the campus to the other. And in fact, we continued throughout the day and have gone through every building on the campus to verify that there are no other individuals hiding there.
What did you do differently? Did you have cameras, doors, security at all since the Moore incident?
Well, we have in the dormitories electronic access keys and whatever else, so only residents can get in and out of those things at that point in time. The classroom buildings are open pretty much all the time because we have people, particularly our graduate students who work on projects, you know, through the middle of the night and whatever else. The main administrative buildings are locked at the end of the day, but of course hundreds of people have keys to get into them.
President Steger, how does Virginia Tech go forward? How do classes resume here? There's obviously going to be a new normal here at Virginia Tech.
Well, I think we have to think very carefully about the process of healing and bringing this community back together. We have dozens of meetings with students. We have a convocation tomorrow. Governor Kane is flying back from Tokyo to be present there. And it's going to be a long, difficult road for people to feel the same way about going on, particularly in the buildings where the shootings occurred than they did in the past.
President Steger, did you speak to President Bush earlier?
Yes. Yes, I spoke to President Bush, and he certainly expressed his concern about the great tragedy and the fact that he and Mrs. Bush sent their condolences, and he said that any additional support or resources that we needed, he would make available. I also got a call from Attorney General Gonzalez shortly after that.
Did the government get a vest?
Pardon?
Was the governor wearing a vest?
The governor?
Was the gunman wearing a vest?
I do not know.
Can you tell us whether or not it was a deliberate shooting or was it a wild shooting inside Norris Hall?
Again, we're still investigating. Those facts will come out later. I'm not prepared to discuss that yet.
You interviewed some witnesses. Did you get any sense of the motive at all?
I personally have not done the interviews. We have teams of people that are interviewing the witnesses, and we'll put all that together as we move forward in this.
Gentlemen, the gun does not have identification. Can you give us an approximate age and description? And also, as the President mentioned, only residents can get into those dorms with their ID cards. Does that give you a sign that he could be a Virginia Tech student and living on campus?
Well, you're jumping to the conclusion that the person in Norris is the one at West AJ, and we're looking at.
You say you're not looking for anyone, and there's no other.
That's correct, but we need to make sure that is or is not the case. As far as the description of him, all I can tell you is he's a male.
Did you say the security campus began after the first shooting?
I'm sorry?
Did the super campus begin after the first shooting?
No, we secured the dormitory in which the first incident happened. And again, we acted on the best information we had at the time. The lockdown policy was mentioned. We get with the senior administration at the university. We provide the best information. We make the best decision we can at the time. Based on that information, we thought that this incident was isolated to this dormitory.
Was there a lockdown?
I guess if there's a suspect at large and you believe that he has left the campus, but it's really only your best belief, a lot of people are going to be very critical that action wasn't taken immediately after this initial shooting, that you all jumped to the conclusion that it was an isolated that
Right.
a suspect is
You
at large.
had to remember that the classes start at 8 o'clock. The call came into the 9/11 Center at about 7:15. We've got 14,000 people en route. So the question is, where do you lock them down? The students are already, it takes 20 minutes to walk from some parts of campus to the classrooms. So people are already in transit. So the decision was,
You put a bulletin over the radio?
well, they're not listening to their radios as they're walking across campus. Well, we did. We had the sirens going off. We sent out iMessages. We sent out emails, and we utilized telephone tree. And we concluded it was best once they got in the classroom, that was where to lock them down.
We're not counting at 9:30, so not 7:30, correct?
9 a.m. There was a lapse of about 2 hours.
Well, the other incident didn't occur.
Right. The original incident
So
occurred at 7:15.
when we closed the initial dorm, we thought that was,
I understand that you think it was an isolated incident, but there are other dormitories right around West Campus.
true.
And no students were notified until 9:29. There is a possibility that the government...
Well, we had security guards around the building almost immediately. So,
President Steger, you spoke about grief counseling.
yeah.
The university faces substantial grief. It would seem to me that resources really to meet that grief are going to have to be substantial. I know you probably have some frontline stuff. What kinds of steps have you taken to add more grief counseling capabilities?
Well, we are today utilizing the rather capable staff that we already have. And as we go forward and get a better sense of what specifically needs to be done, we'll make available the resources that are necessary, whatever it takes.
Has there been an emergency plan in place for an instance with an armed gunman on campus or in a building?
Yeah, we do simulations of these things on a regular basis. Of course, they're never quite like the textbook, but we do have drills looking at how we would handle these types of things.
What would it call for in a case where there was a gunman in a classroom building taking out students?
Well, we followed just that. We had people dispatched to the building immediately, armed and closing down the building and surrounding it. And they got there as quickly as they could. This is literally within minutes.
In that situation, doesn't a lockdown then expose everyone who's in that building to what the gunman does?
Well, they're already in the building, so how are you going to get them out? I mean, this all happens within a few minutes. You know, you can't just. And the building is large. That's all right. Go ahead.
Chief, you say it's presumptuous to assume that the two are connected, yet you tell us you're not looking for a suspect, there's no one in custody. There are parents of Virginia Tech students that are watching right now saying, okay, well, if the two aren't linked, we've only got one gunman dead, why aren't you looking for anyone? Why isn't anyone in custody? What do you say to those parents? What do you say to us here?
What I said was we're still actively investigating that first incident. I didn't say we weren't looking for anyone. We're actively investigating. You can take that to say that we are looking for someone. We are working very, very hard to make sure both incidents are related or are not related. And that's the focus right now, is to determine that. But we are actively investigating that case.
Is Virginia Tech, and more specifically all college campuses, at least not safe anymore? 30 people's alive dead.
Yes, it's a real tragedy.
Have you done to change security measures once campus reopens?
Well, I think we first have to find out all the facts about what happened. And we don't know those at this point in time. And
Are classes expected to resume on Wednesday?
pardon?
Are classes expected to resume on Wednesday?
We're still considering whether or not to open.
Yeah,
school
we're
Wednesday.
still thinking about that. We'll see.
What are the words of reassurance that you still have with the students that this isn't going to repeat in the future?
Well, I should say that we have done everything possible to deal with this problem, as tragic as it is. There will be significant security on the campus throughout the evening. The campus has been blocked off. There's no traffic going in and out. And we'll look at additional procedures that we need to employ in the future. But at this point in time, we are focusing on dealing with the tremendous grief that these families are facing. That's where we're putting our energy. We'll look at how we can improve after the immediate crisis
on
is over.
hindsight, you talk a lot about on hindsight. On hindsight, what could have been done differently and what could have been avoided if it had been done differently? Just some scenarios. What could have been some different scenarios to avoid the second shooting?
You know, until we know all the facts of both incidents, it's going to take some time to figure out exactly what happened, what could have prevented it, if anything. And that's what we'll do. Once we have all the investigations completed, we will certainly look at that and make determinations from there.
Can you describe the security in the buildings, the academic building, the dorm building? How does one get into those buildings?
I didn't hear the first part of the
Can you
question.
describe security on those buildings? Do you need like a swipe card to get in the dorm building? And what times? How does that work basically for both buildings, the academic and dorm?
The academic buildings are open access.
Is what?
Open access.
Open access all the time.
Yes. Well,
What about the dorm?
they're locked at a certain hour at night, but during the day it's open access.
So the dorms are locked during the day. You can only get a key card in there.
I'm not sure if that's during the day or not.
It starts in the
That's an
evening.
important thing to know.
It starts in the evening.
Does anyone here know?
I'm sorry.
How many grief counselors do you
Let me answer his question first. The swipe cards in the dormitories start in the evenings, and then they go off in the mornings,
What time?
around 7.
They go off around 7 a.m.
Families be notified. How are they going to know what students have been deceased? That's really going to be.
We are, as soon as we get the positive notifications, we're in the process of notifying them. I think some will be notified very shortly.
Well, how many families have you
Once those are
contacted?
notified, how can we help those families and be with them?
Right.
We've been asked to do that.
Well, once we have the list complete, we will make it public. So we're waiting until we have all the names.
Chief Martin, what time was the Norris Hall shooting? What time frame did that start? When did you get your first 911 call?
Approximately 9:40 a.m.
Did you find the shooting victim in there by themselves when you got there, or we left for 7:15? Was there like what, the victim, the body in the dorm room?
There were 2 victims in a dormitory room.
So there were you found 2 dead in the dormitory room.
No, ma'am. We found 2 victims in the dormitory room.
Do you know if they survived that? I know they were transported to a hospital, I understand.
Both victims in West Elmer Johnston are deceased. I'm not prepared to release that at this time.
If the
How many
shooting began at
classrooms?
9:40, what prompted the email to go out at 9:20 something? Was that a delayed response to the first one?
I don't have the
Yeah,
answer.
it was, the first email that went out was in relation to the first shooting.
Why did that take so long then?
Well, again, the call came into 911 at 7:15. You got to have time for the police to get there. Then they were interviewing witnesses. We were trying to figure out what we knew about what happened. And then you had to make the decision about canceling classes and all that. So by the time you go through all of that, it takes a little time. We sent out, 36,000 emails at once.
In
So,
retrospect, though, do you feel like it would have been a good idea to send out that email sooner?
based on, we have to make the decision based on what we know at the time, and I think we did it as well as we could.
How many classrooms were attacked?
I don't have the exact number. We're still investigating that, and at future press conferences, I'll be able to release more information.
AJ at co-ed dorm was the victim's male or female?
There was 1 female victim and 1 male victim.
Chief, can you Norris Hall, what kind of classes are held there?
To my knowledge, it's general classes.
It's not just engineering. We heard a lot of engineering offices are in that building.
There are a lot of engineering offices, but I believe the classrooms are general classrooms.
Chief, how
A lot
large?
of the injuries were from students leaping from windows. I believe this was on the 2nd floor, and that there were a lot of broken bones and whatnot. Is that what you gentlemen have heard as well?
There were, that I'm aware of, a couple of people that did jump out of a window out of that building.
And any faculty? You say whether any faculty?
I don't know at this point. I believe there was, but I'm not positive on that.
Can you tell us how many faculty are among the dead?
I don't have the answer for that.
When you talk to witnesses, what was their general feeling about this? Did they give you sort of a general sort of tick-tock about how this happened, what their emotions were? What was it like for them?
Again, I personally have not spoken to witnesses. We have the investigative teams doing that.
You mentioned 15 victims being treated now. Does that include people that jumped out of those buildings, or is that people that have been shot?
Both.
Gentlemen, can you tell
Total of 15, including people that jumped and people that were shot.
That's correct.
Has this required extra morgue services for this region, for the medical examiner in Roanoke? Have you had to have expanded morgue operations to do these identities? That's going to be important to the family.
I missed the first part of your question.
Have you had to expand the morgue operation in Roanoke where the medical examiner resides? Are there some resources there that are moving this process along? Because this is extremely unusual.
The medical examiner's office is on scene with us. I'm not sure what they are or not planning to do.
Gentlemen, can you talk about any anecdotal positive stories, students helping others, staff helping others get out of the building, deal with this? You know, we're focusing on details,
Right.
obviously, because it's just happening, but we're also looking for human stories, something
Well,
positive.
I mean, today we have been totally consumed with dealing with the immediate problems and have not had an opportunity. I'm sure there are wonderful stories of students helping each other, but we've been focusing on the core issues here.
How large is your department? How many officers do you have?
Right.
We have 41 officers.
Right. We feel we have significant help on the ground since the very beginning, but the governor just wanted to be sure if anything in addition was required, that we would have easy access to it.
Some people in the community were actually notified of this first being investigated about April 35. Someone I know who has a governor in preschool, they were notified of April 35 being another hour more. I'm still thinking from why
Well, I think I just went.
There are a number of students. I mean, I understand that we say there are a lot of students that live off campus and that are in campus, but there are also 9,000 students that do live on campus that were not notified until 9/29.
Well, we started several ways of notification. One was the email that gives you the time on it. The other was the phone bank with the RAs that are there. We had people going out and trying. In fact, they were going around knocking on doors as rapidly as they possibly could to get the word out where we thought there was the most immediate danger. So all of those things were happening at once. The email didn't hit the thing till after 9, but it takes a little while to crank that up.
What time did the phone bank start?
Well, I think we started almost immediately with that.
I'm not sure.
Does the phone bank include student smartphones?
It includes we were calling the resident advisors because, you have 900 students in the building. So we're trying to get the word to the resident advisors first, and then they could go out on the halls and alert people as to what was going on.
Chief, right now, 33 dead, and that includes the gun, right?
Right.
Chief, this is obviously not standard fare for campus police. At what point do you turn this over to another agency, and how much help are you getting from other agencies now?
I don't think it's standard fare for any police department for this type of incident. We were getting all kinds of help and resources. You can see the people behind me, Sheriff's Department, the State Police, Blacksburg Police. We have a lot of resources, and we're using them. State Police has dedicated a lot of resources to us, and things are progressing.
President Steger, how do you feel that this incident will affect prospective students' decision to come to Virginia Tech?
Well, I think that remains to be seen. Certainly, I can understand concerns that students would have. We're going to do everything we can, first of all, to find out what exactly happened, and secondly, to take steps appropriate to address those things we could possibly address. And third, we want to reassure them that we're doing everything we can to make it a safe campus. Excuse me.
Yes.
Can you tell us, sir, how long the shooting rampage lasted for?
I don't have the exact time, and I'll try to have that information for you at the next press conference.
Do you know if the shooter ran out of ammunition?
I do not know.
What about students who were taking it?
Obviously, you can see that everybody is asking questions about the investigation. That's the reason why we're here. That's the reason why we're trying to get you the answers. I think the best thing for us to do at this point is to say that we're going to have another briefing again tonight. We need to get them back on the scene so I can get answers to the questions that you all are positing. And I would suggest that we do this again at 7:30. And I'll do my very best to get you as much as I can about the information. The most important thing for us right now is next of kin notification. That's what our student affairs people are going to be acting on immediately.
There you hear it. Virginia Tech University President Charles Steger promising more information to come in a little more than 2 hours from now. The death toll on Virginia Tech's campus from 2 shootings today stands at 33. That includes the gunman. 2 people were reportedly shot at a dorm. The rest shot inside Norris Hall, which is an academic building. A sad day for Virginia Tech campus, certainly. With me on the phone now is Representative Randy Forbes, who represents Southern Virginia. Representative, great to talk to you today. First of all, your reaction to this tragedy.
Well, Contessa, Virginia is like a large family, and Virginia Tech is such a prominent university. and such a big university that almost everybody in every portion of Virginia has somebody in their church or their business or their some community organization that has either a student at Virginia Tech or is an alumni of Virginia Tech. So it's like losing part of your family.
Given the fact that the investigation is continuing, there are some glaring questions. You heard the reporters asking over and over again, why did it take so long to lock down the campus? Why weren't students notified right away? It was after the second shooting, more than 2 hours later, when the first email went out that there had been a shooting on campus. Does any of that bother you, hearing, Congressman, that there are so many unanswered questions at this point in the investigation?
Well, Contessa, the thing that bothers us most right now is that we have 31 students that we know are dead, or 31 individuals, and 17, perhaps more, that are being treated in hospitals right now. I think that's our number one concern. And the second thing that just about all of the Virginia delegation is concerned about is obviously doing a thorough investigation, so we're not basing any conclusions that we have on pieces of evidence instead of the entire tapestry as it weaves together. But all of that's going to come out probably in the next several hours or certainly in the next several days, and then we'll be able to make an assessment about whether or not someone was at fault and what we could have done different to have protected these students.
Representative Forbes, obviously because you're a lawmaker representing Virginia, there are going to be those who contact you and want you to take action to prevent future tragedies. Already, I'm getting emails from both gun control advocates and anti-gun control people. For instance, here's one from the Violence Policy Center, which says these tragedies are the inevitable result of the ease with which the firepower necessary to slaughter dozens of innocents can be obtained. On the other side, from the Virginia Citizens Defense League, you have this statement. If just one of those victims had been armed, this most probably would have turned out very differently. Where do you stand on guns, sir?
Well, Contessa, I think one of the things that we see is that anytime you have a tragedy like this, people will try to use it to promote their own agendas on whichever side they are. One of the things that we've always looked at in Virginia, and earlier today, our whole congressional delegation across the board met, were briefed on this situation. We're going to continue to look, and when we get all the facts in, then we can make intelligent decisions about what would actually have stopped this particular tragedy, as opposed to looking at particular agendas that may not ultimately bear out based upon the facts when we ascertain them.
But in general, Representative, do you stand for a person's right to carry handguns?
Well, I think the Constitution stands for a person's right to have firearms, and I think the question that we look at is how we keep individuals from using those firearms in a manner such as this and the devastation that we had today.
Representative Randy Forbes, I know that it's a very busy day for you, and certainly you have constituents to comfort at this point. You have our condolences.
Thank you, Contessa. Bye.
Again, the breaking news that we're covering from Virginia Tech's campus, 33 people killed today, including a gunman. The investigation continues. So far, no identification on the shooter. We'll be right back.
Travel now. No passport required for U.S. citizens. Puerto Rico. Explore beyond the shore.
If you're looking to refinance, cash out equity, or purchase a new home, you can count on Ditech to provide a great rate and outstanding personal service. And get your conditional loan approval in minutes. Call 1-800-71-FIXED.
Mom! Have you ever considered how much we depend on petroleum-based products? At Occidental Petroleum, we'll continue to work hard to protect the environment as we explore for oil and natural gas. We'll be guided by the same pioneering spirit of modern science that makes our world so full of possibilities. Because we think today's dreams will become tomorrow's reality.
I slain the dragon! We come for my reward! Well done! This is for you.
This is all I get?
terms and conditions state that you must slay a minimum 4 dragons before cash is earned. A tail must also be provided to prove that it is a dragon and not just a large lizard.
Is this how your Cash Rewards card treats you? Introducing No Hassle Cash Rewards. Earn cash on every purchase, everywhere, plus a 25% annual bonus.
Oh, you've qualified to marry my daughter. What's in your wallet?
Sam was born and I was already 50. We have a great time. I know that if I'm not around anymore, he'll be taken care of.
Mutual of Omaha Insurance Company. Insure life. Begin today.
We're going to be swamped getting this shipment out this morning. Don't worry, I'll use my Nextel.
Customs cleared?
Yep.
Containers can go.
All right.
All drivers dock 3.
Okay. Already there.
You're fired.
Businesses now get the Motorola Buzz for just $59.99. Nextel, only from Sprint.
Tonight, the deadliest shooting rampage in U.S. history. Should today's massacre at Virginia Tech prompt a call for tighter gun control? Scarborough Country. MSNBC tonight at 9.
Massacre at Virginia Tech. Stay with MSNBC for complete continuing live coverage.
Water down the mountainside.
Climate change.
We just learned from the Virginia Tech University that 33 people were killed on campus today, including the gunman. The investigators say at this point they are still looking to decide whether the shooting that happened early in this morning, 7:15 this morning, at a dormitory that killed 2 people, is linked to a shooting that then happened at Norris Hall, which is an academic hall for engineering studies there on campus. But they say they are not looking for any other suspects. The Norris Hall gunman, they say, shot himself, killing himself inside Norris Hall. Of course, the questions remain, how could a gunman roam freely on the campus of Virginia Tech, elude police, if he did, in fact, for more than 2 hours, and kill 32 people? Are schools and colleges prepared to deal with these kinds of violent attacks? Joining us from Los Angeles is Dr. Ronald Stevens, Executive Director of the National School Safety Center. Ron, great to talk to you once again. What do you make of this 2-hour lapse when the students had not yet been notified that there was even one shooting on campus, let alone 2, and a gunman on the loose?
Well, this is a tough call. There's a sense in which you would hope that there would be some immediate campus lockdown information that takes place, and yet by the same token, we're dealing with a campus involving nearly 2,600 acres and multiple buildings. But I think it does suggest that there is a need to coordinate these various activities, particularly if you haven't apprehended the shooter in the first setting. So it's definitely a wake-up call to go back and revisit school safety plans, school crisis plans, as well as the whole prospect of campus supervision.
And yet the elementary schools seem to handle it so well. In fact, Montgomery County, the superintendent set out a lockdown order to all of the Montgomery County schools as soon as the superintendent learned there had been a shooting on Virginia Tech's campus. They sent a letter home with parents saying, look, your students were locked inside their classrooms, not even allowed to wander inside the school itself. The schools were on lockdown. What can colleges and universities learn from what's already happening at the K through 12 level?
There's certainly several models here. It is a sad commentary to even state that many of our K through 12 systems have learned a variety of lessons from the more than 400 plus school-associated violent deaths that have happened over the last decade. And I suspect that will provide some helpful guidance to us. But one of the realities in a situation like this, when you have a gunman who is committed to creating an act of terror and violence like this, it's very difficult for schools to prevent this from happening. It is not difficult, though. Go ahead.
Just 20 seconds left with you here, Ron. What does it say to you, the fact that they turn off the security at the dorm, the little need to swipe your card if you're a resident at 7 a.m.?
Well, you know, once again, you have to look and see what the track record has been in the past. But I think we're going to find much more access control, particularly to dormitories, and this may be one of those changes that does create a new normal for colleges and universities.
Dr. Ronald Stevens, it's great to talk to you. I appreciate your expertise.
Thank you.
Once again, 33 people killed on Virginia Tech's campus today. A gunman walked into a dormitory at 7:15 this morning, shot 2 people who later died. 2 hours later, 9:15, Norris Hall across the campus, an academic hall of engineering, a shooter walked in and left 31 victims, 30 victims in his wake, 31 including the shooter himself who turned the gun on himself. Now investigators are having a hard time identifying that shooter, they say, because he wasn't carrying identification, he did not have a cell phone, and because he shot himself in the face, they're having a hard time recognizing him. With me now, Clint Van Zandt, who's a former FBI profiler, MSNBC analyst as well. Clint, there's a couple big questions even coming out of this university news conference. Number one, when they were asked, what procedures do you have in place to lock down a campus, the vice president says, that's not in my communications plan.
Yeah, and it's not, and I think that's part of their challenge right now. But, you know, we're looking for these all-encompassing answers to problems. We're looking for technology and policy to control aberrant human behavior, and it just doesn't work that way. I mean, we assume that people are going to function on good faith, that they're going to be like you and I. We're not going to shoot up a college campus, and 99.9% of people do that every day. They're very good people. We have this one aberrancy that is, you know, shaking the ground under us right now, and we're saying, where's technology to answer the day? Well, you know, there's not technology that's going to stop someone who either wants to be a suicide bomber or who wants to shoot up a college campus. They are going to be able to find the way to get through. And, you know, real quick, you were talking about, you know, I sit here and I'm sitting here and yelling at the television, trying to talk to these people who are having press conferences. It's just my own little internal battle here. But when I see the president of the university or the chief of police say, you know, we shut the card swiper readers off at 7 a.m., part of us say, why don't you leave it on? But you and I know the reality, Contessa, is that at 7, 7:30, 8 o'clock, there's going to be 200, 300 students walking out of that dorm. If you and I want to get back in, we just tuck our head down and we walk right past him as the door swings open, and we don't need a card, and we don't have to have it ready.
Let's go back to some of the facts that were handed out in this news conference. Number one, you have the Virginia Tech chief of police, so in other words, campus police, who say that when the first shooting happened at the dorm with 2 victims, a male and a female, they concluded the dorm shooting was domestic in nature, that they concluded that the shooter had left the campus and perhaps was on his way out of state. A male and a female victim here. What does that say to you?
Well, it says to me the likelihood is that this shooter went in, and again, I'm going to stretch it right now because I don't know this to be the truth, but to me, I would start looking at, was this his girlfriend or a woman that he had a relationship with? He went up to the 4th floor of this dormitory to see her for some reason. He met her, he was challenged by the resident assistant on that dormitory floor, and he wound up shooting them both and leaving, and for whatever the reason, campus police were able to conclude that after that one-on-one domestic shooting, something like perhaps a, you know, O.J. Simpson's wife and her friend who was standing there, they were both killed, that then law enforcement took the quantum leap to say, okay, the shooter, if it was a boyfriend, would have fled campus, and he now poses no further threat. You know, that's a pretty big leap, and they still have to explain why they believe that.
And now they're in this situation of explaining why they aren't sure that the 2 shootings are related. They said, okay, the shooting happened at the dormitory. 2 hours later, across campus at Norris Hall, another shooting, and we're investigating whether the 2 are linked. And then a reporter asks, well, if they're not linked, are you looking for a second shooter? And the police chief says, no. There seems to be a gap in the reasoning here.
Well, there's a gap. There's a contradiction in what the police chief said. You know, and I, as an FBI agent or former agent, I could appreciate not wanting to put information out that you haven't been able to validate yet. But come on, Chief. Come on, college. It's either you had one shooter or two shooters. If you think there's two shooters, you either have him in custody or we got a fugitive hunt. If there's only one shooter, then both situations are related. I mean, there's no other truth that I can see that's in between those situations.
And it seemed to me the police chief was asked whether they were going to remain as the lead agency investigating this mass shooting, the biggest shooting in terms of death toll in our nation's history. And he said, yes, we're going to remain in the lead, but we've been given resources. Are you surprised that another agency is now not taking over, the sheriff's department, the state police, the FBI?
No, I'm not really. I mean, if we take away the terrible loss, the tragedy of the loss of human life, and reduce it down to the investigative responsibility here, and should it be just one shooter who subsequently killed himself, it seems like what law enforcement has to determine, number one, was there one shooter, and number two, did anybody help him or know about it, or did he do it by themselves? Campus police would be capable of conducting that with the outside resources that have been offered them, anywhere from the state police to the Attorney General's office, offering the FBI and ATF, all these other federal agencies that are on board right now conducting investigations, and that will then give it back to the University Police Department.
All right, I mentioned before, 33 people dead, including the gunman. Let's talk a little bit about the fact that the doors in Norris Hall were chained from the inside. We learned that, confirmed in this news conference. What does that say to you about this shooter?
Yeah, it says one of two things probably. Either the shooter wanted to keep his victims in and wanted to go on this killing spree with the thought in his mind that I have everybody trapped in and enough ammunition to shoot everybody in the building, and or he wanted to keep law enforcement out while he was inside doing the shooting. I mean, you know, shooters like this don't contest it. They don't necessarily operate in a vacuum. They know what happened at Columbine. They know what happened at every other school shooting. They may have read about it. They would have had some information about it. This guy planned to do this.
And this guy, whoever he is, they can't identify him at this point, Clint, because he's not carrying identification. He didn't have a cell phone. They say he shot himself in the face, thereby disfiguring his face, and they can't figure out by looking at him who he is. So how do you go about identifying a man who shot and killed 32 victims and has on him a 9mm and a .22 handgun, which may or may not have been purchased legally?
Yeah, well, the fastest thing may be for ATF to trace the serial numbers of the two handguns and to perhaps trace any ammunition that has been bought. You trace those guns down. If they were bought legally, they will know within a matter of hours who bought the guns. That doesn't mean the shooter bought the guns, but it should lead us to somebody who then could lead us to him. If the guns, however, were stolen or were obtained other than legally, other than with a chain of evidence indicating who the purchaser then law enforcement has to find other ways to identify this guy. I've heard already that his fingerprints have been checked, and the initial reaction was that we don't have anybody who matches this fingerprint. Well, we're going to do fingerprints on him, we're going to do DNA, and the bottom line is we were told that he was an Asian. If in fact he was an Asian, if in fact he went to this dormitory and he had a domestic relationship with the first victim that he killed, somebody is going to know who that woman knew, who she dated, who her boyfriend or ex-boyfriend was, and that's going to tie the case up and give us the identity of the shooter.
Clint Van Zandt, always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Contessa.
It has been a deadly day on Virginia Tech's campus. A gunman shot and killed 32 people before turning the gun on himself. Our coverage continues.
Your dreams are crazy. They're impossible. That's what they said back in the day when your dreams changed everything. That's not going to stop now. You don't turn your dreams over to the authorities at age 60. You find someone who believes in your dreams.
Start with your dreams, and your Ameriprise financial advisor, working with you one-to-one, face-to-face, will help you plan to make your dreams realities.
See, the thing about dreams is they don't retire.
Presenting Ortho Weed Be Gone Max. So revolutionary, it targets and kills the toughest weeds without harming your lawn. Ortho Weed Be Gone sprayed here, ordinary weed killer here. Only Ortho Weed Be Gone has a foaming action and weed targeting formula for total root kill. So it killed the weeds, but not the grass. The ordinary weed killer killed everything. Ortho Weed Be Gone Max. Kills weeds, not lawns. Guaranteed. Now available with new crabgrass control.
Tonight, the deadliest shooting rampage in U.S. history. Should today's massacre at Virginia Tech prompt a call for tighter gun control? Scarborough Country. MSNBC tonight at 9.
If you've had a heart attack or have heart failure, inside this little device, you just might find 10,000 more kisses, snow, 200 more football wins. This is an implantable cardiac defibrillator, a device that's always there for you, close to your heart, with the power to restart it in case of sudden cardiac arrest, one of the nation's leading causes of death. ICDs aren't for everyone. They're proven effective in treating some heart rhythm disorders, but only your doctor can say if it's right for you. ICDs are implanted, and as with any surgery, there are potential risks, and physician follow-up is required. In rare instances, ICDs may not deliver appropriate therapy. An ICD could give you many more bedtime stories, tons of hugs, and one more thing, peace of mind. Call 1-866-950-5550 or visit whatsinside.com. Then talk to your doctor. An ICD is just a little thing, but it can make the biggest difference in your life.
There are cruise lines that tell you when to relax, when to play, and when to eat. Then there's freestyle cruising, only from Norwegian Cruise Line, where you're free to whatever.
At Shell, we're constantly testing to prove there is a difference in gasolines. While low-quality discount gas can allow gunk to build up in your engine, Shell gasoline stops gunky buildup to help your car perform at its best.
Another busy day in big banking. Something's in my putting line.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I've got a great business plan, and as you can see, my business has really taken off.
I think it's a small business owner. Probably looking for a handout.
Our fourth quarter profits.
Nice. Mind if we play through?
Does your bank think small about your small business? Call Capital One instead for no-hassle business loans, lines of credit, and credit cards. Check your mailbox.
Hello, Capital One.
Business plan. What's in your wallet?
Tonight, massacre at Virginia Tech. Minute by minute, how it happened and why. A countdown special report. MSNBC tonight at 8. Massacre at Virginia Tech. Stay with MSNBC for complete continuing live coverage.
Two people at Virginia Tech who probably thought this would be a Monday like many others and instead lost their lives when a gunman let loose with his two handguns on campus. 2 people were shot at a dorm. 2 hours later, 31 people were shot inside a Norris Hall, an engineering hall, including the gunman himself. Now the investigation continues, and campus police say they are trying to determine and confirm that there is a connection between the dorm shooting and the shooting at the Hall of Engineering there on Virginia Tech. With me now is MSNBC's Lily West, who's been online today. I know that you're taking a look at this website called Facebook, which a lot of college students have sort of a listing, much like MySpace, but particularly geared for college kids. What are you seeing?
I'm really seeing groups forming, reaching out to the students at Virginia Tech. It's amazing. It's almost instantaneously. People started reaching out saying, we're praying for you, or have you seen so-and-so? And it's a way for people to band together and either almost kind of a form of therapy, vent their feelings about this, or in some cases get more information, like news, where are people, pictures of the event. It's incredible.
We heard earlier from someone who was talking about trying to get a hold of one of his friends that he thought would be inside the Hall of Engineering at the time when the second shooting happened, about 9:15 this morning, and he was concerned sending her emails, trying to call her cell phone, and not being able to get through. Are you saying many of these students then are turning to Facebook to say, hey, do you know where this person is?
Exactly. I mean, some of the groups even say phone lines will be jammed. If you are looking for someone, post here. And people have described someone saying, I don't even know their name. I think they're on the football team. I mean, these vague descriptions, but really people desperately looking for information. And this is the generation that's familiar with the internet.
So you're saying people from Boston or even internationally are posting their messages to Virginia Tech students, for instance?
there's a group called Canadians for Virginia Tech or something like that, and it's literally people from Canada who have said, we are keeping you in our prayers, and we hope that, you know, everyone is okay. I'm not sure if anybody even knows anyone at Virginia Tech, but obviously they feel some type of companionship with these people because they're on the same site, they're probably the same age, they might be college students too. So,
is there anyone from Tech who's posting about the actual shooting?
There are people who, I haven't seen anyone actually recount actual incidents, but there are definitely students who are posting to other students saying, are you okay? I haven't been able to get in touch with you. Do you know where so-and-so is? So it's really a way of people within the community to reach out, but also people from other communities to reach out to the students of Virginia Tech.
By the way, Virginia Tech University is asking students to please call their parents and let their parents know that they are okay. They've also handed out a number for parents. I believe it's the dean's office. 540-231-3787 was the number that they said parents could call, and they've been encouraging parents not to head to the campus because the facilities for accommodations nearby are limited, but they said they do have counseling there on campus, and that if parents feel the need to go there, that they will try to accommodate them. Lily, is there a place on Facebook where parents can go and try and get in touch with their students if they're not hearing from their students on campus?
You know, it's hard to, because Facebook actually, you have to have a login, and to do that you have to have really a high school or college email address. So that is the one difficulty for parents, obviously, if they don't have these email addresses. But I'm sure they could kind of try to get in touch with someone's friend or get in touch with a young person who might have a Facebook account and say, can you please try to search some of these group sites?
And in the meantime, while people are heading online for what sounds like an online vigil on Facebook, they're also doing it in the city of Roanoke as well, which our affiliate there is covering. Lily West, thank you very much. David Katz is a special agent for the DEA and a firearms expert. He's in New York now. David, great to talk to you today. Let's talk about the guns that this shooter had in Norris Hall. We were told that he had a 9mm, a .22 handgun, and also several clips full of ammunition. What does that say to you about his ability to get his hands on deadly weapons?
Well, you know, there are literally millions of handguns that are prevalent and available in the United States, and having access to them by law-abiding citizens is not the problem. Having accessibility to firearms by someone who was unstable, who clearly had this whatever the predisposition was, this anger, this psychotic break, whatever led him to do that, those people we need to make sure do not have the access to firearms like this. Semi-automatic weapons in the hands of somebody with ill intentions, you can see, kills a lot of people very, very quickly. 33 people were killed on the campus of Virginia Tech today, including the gunman himself. Can you talk a little bit about the accuracy of guns like a 9mm and a .22? Well, we're not talking about long-range shooting. We're talking about point-blank shooting, and unfortunately into a room filled with people. So if a non-skilled, untrained person is simply firing into an area that's filled with people, he's going to hit somebody. You know, a good parallel to this incident occurred in 1993 in the Long Island Railroad when Colin Ferguson, armed again with a semi-automatic 9mm, shot 25 people, killing 6. At that range, you don't have to be skilled, you don't have to be good, you just have to have the weapon, you have to have people to shoot at.
And the fact that he wasn't carrying shotguns or rifles, he was able to hide them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know, the benefit and the danger with a handgun is the fact that they are concealable. Absolutely.
And what about the fact that he was carrying, it appears from what we've heard from law enforcement and from these news conferences, he was carrying multiple clips with ammunition. Considering the fact that he was able to kill, we believe he was able to kill 32 victims, 2 in a dormitory earlier, and 30 inside this engineering hall. Although, as I mentioned, the investigators are being careful to say they're still investigating whether there is indeed a link between the two. But what does that tell you about his preparation?
Obviously, he was prepared, and he intended to do what he ultimately did. You know, people are kind of amazed by the amount of rounds of ammunition he was able to carry. This is not really that much. I mean, any police officer carrying a 9mm pistol with 3 spare magazines has a similar amount of ammunition. Most likely, the weapon he carried had a magazine capacity of 15 rounds. That plus 1 round in the chamber makes 16. So every time this individual reloaded, he had a fresh supply of 15 rounds. And it's not uncommon to someone to be able to carry 8, 10, 12 magazines of ammunition, and it's.
Well, how much would something like that weigh if you were carrying around in your vest a 22 in ammunition and a 9mm in ammunition?
Well, the 9mm pistol weighs several pounds. Each magazine is less than you're talking about several pounds, but nothing that is difficult to carry. This is extreme portability. I was an instructor when I'm a former special agent. I was an instructor at the FBI DEA Academy at Quantico, and routinely we had trainees carrying 100 or 150 rounds on their person during training exercises. This is not a difficult thing to do.
I have fired off 9mm and 22s myself. I know that they're easy to learn. Is it easy for someone with no prior firearm experience to get hold of these guns and still do the damage that this gunman appears to have done?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not, in Virginia, if you have a driver's license, you can get a firearm, and, again, these aren't complex pieces of machinery. They're relatively easy. I think pretty much anyone who's ever seen a police show on television understands the mechanism on how to place a magazine into the well of the weapon, rack a round in. From that point on, it's just pressing the trigger till the gun is fired empty, and then reloading and repeating the cycle. So this is not this is a lot different from in these shootings that occurred a couple years back in D.C. with D.C. snipers. That was a whole different situation.
Mm-hmm.
That actually seemed from the outset to be skilled shooters with ability and training. Here, none for this type of activity, unfortunately, none was necessary.
No training necessary, and yet the damage so deadly. It was the deadliest shooting in U.S. history today. 33 victims in all, including the gunman who turned the gun on himself. David Katz, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
More ahead here on MSNBC.
Centrum believes that balanced combinations help vitamins work to their full potential. Like vitamin D combining with calcium to support bone health. Centrum, everything works together from A to zinc.
Well, the blues I like the best are the cheesiest. Oh, yes, the cheesiest. And these new blues are the cheesiest ones, yeah.
It's true. Now, Kraft macaroni and cheese is even cheesier.
It's the cheesiest.
I just want what's best for you and the baby. It's not a healthy relationship. Look at that thing. What a mess. You could do much better.
Drop your mop and get Swiffer Wet Jet. It's the cleaner spring cleaner. The dirt-dissolving antibacterial solution kills 99.9% of bacteria that your mop can spread around. When you're done, toss the pad away. Thanks, Mom. Swiffer gives spring cleaning a whole new meaning.
Newspapers across America are speaking out against changes to Medicare. The Indianapolis Star warns fixing drug prices is bad for future generations. The Charleston Daily Mail says drug coverage works for seniors. And the Atlanta Journal says keep drug price negotiations out of Fed's hands. 90% of seniors now have comprehensive prescription drug coverage thanks to Medicare. Competition is creating real savings for seniors. Changing Medicare would be a mistake. Tell Congress, protect today's Medicare.
Days Inn was fun. Absolutely fun.
It's a great place with young children.
Bed was really comfortable. Pillows were soft. Lots of pillows.
The pool was great.
The pool was fun. And you gotta love that free breakfast.
I had 5 donuts. It was so good.
I gotta tell you, it was really a great value.
My mom liked it. My grandma liked it. My little brother liked it.
Don't you keep on the sunny side of life?
One deserted island. 12 determined auto insurance executives. Only one winning policy. Want to save hundreds on auto insurance? Let insurance companies compete for your business. At insurance.com, you can compare quotes from top companies, then buy the policy that's right for you. Lowest price guaranteed. May the best quote win. Visit insurance.com today or call 1-800-880-YOU-WIN.
Attention drivers statewide. If you are insured with Allstate, Geico, State Farm, or any other car insurer, you may be overpaying by hundreds of dollars. Find out how to get immediate savings through AIG Auto Insurance. What would it take to get you to switch your car insurance? If we told you that you could save $350 a year, wouldn't you pick up the phone? Start dialing because you could save that much. People who switched from Geico saved around $359. From Allstate, $416. Your savings could be higher, like this driver who switched, or this one. And no other company gives you AIG Security Advantage that helps keep you safe on the road and away from home. Immediate savings available through AIG Auto Insurance. Call for a free rate quote today. Call 1-800-850-2642 for a free rate quote. You could save hundreds of dollars. That number again is 1-800-850-2642. Call now or visit AIGauto.com.
10 seconds. 1 minute or so. 10 seconds. 1 minute or so.
It has been a deadly day on the campus of Virginia Tech University in Virginia. 33 people killed in all. A gunman went inside a dormitory at 7:15 this morning, turned his gun on 2 victims, a male and a female. Both were later taken to the hospital and died. Then 2 hours later, a gunman walked into a Hall of Engineering on Virginia Tech's campus, opened fire. There were bodies strewn throughout the building, we're told by the investigators who saw the scene. And the doors chained from the inside to keep both students in and police out. The gunman then turned the gun on himself. At this point, investigators are having a hard time identifying the shooter because he was not carrying ID. He did not have a cell phone on his person. And because he shot himself, they're having trouble recognizing his face. With me now is Linda Welsh, who's with the Anxiety Treatment Center at Temple University Medical School. Linda, great to talk to you today. Look, the way that we're seeing this is that there are going to be 32 families today, plus the family of the gunman, who are going to be told they've lost someone that they love. How do they deal with that?
Oh, the grief is going to be enormous. The loss of a child.
And it now appears, unfortunately, that we have lost Linda Welsh. We'll work to get her back. We're interested in hearing her advice, but right now, we know that there's counselors at Virginia Tech who are standing by. They are offering to help not only the students who may have been present for the shooting, but also parents who are coming to campus. Obviously, there are thousands of parents who've spent a worried day wondering how their own students were coping, whether they were in the line of fire at this point. We know that there were some 15 people who were sent to the hospital. And as I said, 32 victims today in what police are describing as 2 separate shootings, but they say they're working to figure out whether there was indeed a link, whether there was or not a gunman turned the gun on himself, shot himself, and they say they're not looking for any additional suspects. With me now, Clint Van Zandt, former FBI profiler, MSNBC analyst. Clint, if these 2 aren't linked, should they be looking for another suspect?
Well, of course they should be. We were told earlier today that the police had someone in custody. It was reported on campus that someone had gone away in handcuffs. I've never heard the answer to what happened to that person. Was it the wrong person or was it a second shooter? But since the authorities never brought the existence of that person up, we have to assume that, you know, it was a bad arrest. It was the wrong person. So if they have a second suspect, they should be putting out a description. Since they haven't, we have to assume that the 2 shootings are obviously linked. And you know, when the planets cross like this in space, you have to assume that this is one in the same shooting, and it looks like one in the same shooter. Why they haven't told us, the only reason that I can suggest is that they're not 1,000% sure, and they don't want to take a step out on the plank until they know for sure, until they release information. But look, you know, you and I think everyone else watching MSNBC all day today, you have to say this didn't just happen in a vacuum. 2 different shootings. They were either linked by 2 common shooters, or it's one person who shot his girlfriend and the resident assistant in the dorm, walked across campus, went into the engineering building, and then committed this horrific act of violence 2 hours later.
But those 2 shootings did not happen back to back. There was a 2-hour time lapse, and also these 2 buildings were across campus. It wouldn't have taken 2 hours to cross campus from the dormitory to Norris Hall, where so many people lost their lives today. As an FBI profiler, what would you tell the investigators about what this gunman might have been doing in those 2 hours?
Well, I think this is the challenge they have to figure out. Did he go back to a vehicle? Was he looking for other specific targets on campus? Did he go to other buildings and he just didn't find who he wanted to shoot, and he finally wound up in this last building? Now, I've heard that he went from room to room in this facility. We've heard multiple gunshots that sound like they've came from one room, and then he moved on to the second room. We know that he was changing magazines in at least one of his semi-automatic pistols while he was doing this.
And we heard from the assistant professor who said that when police finally were able to get in, they were going door to door, breaking down office doors of the faculty members even, trying to make sure there were no more armed gunmen hiding inside this building.
You know, having been involved in these fugitive chases as an FBI agent, there is nothing more chaotic than in the minutes and the first few hours after a shooting where no one is sure what happened. Your best witnesses are shot, wounded, and maybe dead, and you're trying to put it together from other witness statements where most of us know that eyewitness statements, they're highly unreliable. So law enforcement was really challenged these first couple hours. And again, from the news conference, it sounds like, and this is the story I'm putting together, that the shooter went up, perhaps went looking